Hello everyone and welcome to the Channel 5 News. I am Kenny Williams. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. First up, the incidence of sexual risk behaviors is a matter to be considered in the post-disaster recovery. Channel 5's Idona John Baptist explains why this is a concern for the National HIV/AIDS Response Unit.
Raising awareness on the spread of HIV is a campaign which takes place every year, particularly around this period. This time around, Dominica joins the international community to mark World AIDS Day on December 1 as health practitioners keep in mind curbing the effects of the hurricane on sexual behaviors. Research on post-disaster cases reveals sexual promiscuity is greater after a disaster. The National HIV/AIDS Response Unit has resumed services to address this reality.
That is one of the major concerns that we've had to address for the past, how much? 8-9 weeks. You know, persons' coping mechanisms differ in different circumstances, and you know, post-trauma, people do go through a lot of stress, and the traumatic experience somewhat exposes people to what we call post-trauma disorder. But apart from that, we also would be able to see or have seen the increase of alcohol use and probably even the increase of drug use among the general public. And for us, we've always put forward that once you're involved with alcohol use or drug use, it affects your decision making, and that remains the same thing in any given circumstance. So we become extremely concerned about how a person's sexual behaviors are affected.
As a qualified psychotherapist, Guy says sexual risk behaviors could be the post-disaster coping mechanism for some people.
People may find a way to cope differently, and in no means is sexual activity is not one of the coping mechanisms that people employ. When somebody who has been traumatized might cope by finding something healthy to do, somebody else might find something unhealthy to do. Imagine the day after the storm, see how people were coping. While some persons were looking for their family members, others were out looting. So there's no way we can totally eradicate the fact that somebody may use sexual activities as a coping mechanism. What is important for us in these situations is that not that we're saying don't have sex. We're saying under the circumstances, if you're being sexually active, you need to use barrier methods, and we're still here for that.
Mr. Guy,
we're saying that under any circumstances, you know, be it that you're drinking excessively or more than you usually drink, that when you're making decisions, you're making the right decision when it comes to your sexual health.
Transactional sex on a local level is also an issue that the public should open their eyes to, as according to Guy, it has been happening and there could be possible situations under these circumstances.
Transactional sex is when persons provide sexual services for favors. It may be a telephone, it may be some money, it may be a boss fare, it may be a top-up, it may even have been a KFC, and we've been talking about that all the time. And what I'm saying, one of the concerns we have is I know that a lot of people have become unemployed. I am not saying that they are involved in transactional sex. I'm saying because sometimes you're strapped for something, somebody may offer you services and offer you something, and they want something in return. So it's almost like a barter. And for me, we've always said when we're talking about sexual activities, it becomes a lot more difficult for persons to be able to negotiate when it comes to transactional sex. Because if you get involved with somebody and the person has given you, let's say, some money or some elaborate gift, when and if the person comes to you and they want the rewards, your negotiating power may not be as apt or as strong as if it's a different circumstance. So that is our concern. So with the rise of unemployment for the past couple of weeks, a month, people may come to you because they know that you're strapped. You need to get food for your kids. You need some new clothes. You need some new shoes. Things are bouncing back. And they're saying, I will give this to you, but I'm expecting something in for return. So we may attempt to say that no, it's not existent, but it is. Because when we do our sexual risk behavior, when we do testing and counseling, those things do come up.
The HIV/AIDS unit is stressing the need for people to recommit themselves to getting tested for HIV. HIV rapid testing will be done at all functional sites on Friday, including the Dominica Planned Parenthood Association's office in Roseau. Idona John Baptist, Channel 5 News.
In other news, former U.S. President Bill Clinton recently challenged the donor community to grab the opportunity to help small island developing states like Dominica fight for sustainability while combating climate change and poverty.
President Clinton, who has worked in the Caribbean for decades through the Clinton Foundation, spoke at a recently concluded CARICOM UN Pledging Conference in New York. Prime Minister Skerritt was among distinguished heads of government who attended the conference.
We know island nations all over the world are most imperiled by climate change. We saw what happened after the tsunami in the tiny country of the Maldives, where they lost 2/3 of their GDP in a matter of minutes, and then they had to consolidate and build higher and dig deeper. It's not like we don't know how to do this. Those of us without official standing, many of us, are prepared to spend years of effort doing whatever we can to help, not just to restore, but in the Deputy Secretary General's word, to build back better. But this is the best opportunity, I believe, that the United Nations has ever had and probably will ever have in the near future, to test everything we all say we believe. Not only about solving the problems we face, but seizing the opportunities we have. Not only about overcoming the burdens that have been left in the wake of all the ruin of these horrible hurricanes, but seizing the opportunity of a place where the sun shines 300 days a year, the wind blows, and there are lots of other opportunities. So I would just like to plead with you to take the leadership and give all the money you can, but also to do as much regional planning as you can and support for individual leaders who are taking unusual initiative. Because of the work my foundation was already doing down there before all the hurricanes, I've had an unusual opportunity to get to know and work with Prime Minister Skerritt of Dominica. And Dominica got the living daylights kicked out of us.
President Clinton told the UN that there had been enough talk year after year about the impact of climate change, and it was now time for action.
Now finally, here it is, a disaster has given us a chance to literally have the world's only laboratory that is both diverse but confined in population, confined in geographic reach, and confined in cost, where we can test everything we all say we believe and see if we're right enough. And if we aren't right on everything, you will have the moral solace of knowing you didn't let Barbuda vanish from the face of the earth. You will have the political confidence to know you didn't let a man in a small place like Dominica, who thought big and long-term in the future, go begging for want of $1 or $2. And I could go on and on. You are never going to get a chance, the donor community, ever, to do so much good so quickly with so little money. But don't give up the world's best chances, not just for the Caribbean, to test everything you believe about sustainability, climate change, poverty alleviation, improved health, every single solitary thing. You've got a laboratory that could become the jewel of the world, the first stop on the Sustainability Triumph Tour, and you could do it within 5 to 10 years.
Next up, vendors who sell agricultural produce along the city's sidewalks will have to return to the Roseau Market from 1st December. Andrea Louis has more.
Preparations to accommodate those who vend agricultural produce are almost complete, and the plan of the Roseau Market Authority is to have vendors return to the Roseau Market this Friday. Following the passage of Hurricane Maria, the sale of agricultural produce resumed along city streets as the Rosa Market was unfit to house vendors. However, General Manager of Dexia, under which the Rosa Market Authority falls, says all will be ready to welcome back the vendors come Friday, 1st December.
In terms of readiness, I would say that we're about 90% ready to receive all the vendors who are on the side of the road presently. There are a few things that we are in the process of finalizing with regards to our washroom facilities, and that we are giving serious attention to. But in terms of the vending space, in terms of the tables, those are available. We have done all the sanitization, so all of that is available. And we are looking forward to the first. We are looking forward to Friday. We will have all the vendors back at the Rosa Market, Friday, Saturday, doing all their vending. By Friday, the washroom facilities will be up and running. Okay, so we are getting some assistance from the WASCO, and there are some service providers who are involved in the plumbing sector, so we will ensure that everything is in place. One thing that we will not do, we will not encourage persons to come to the Rosa Market if we are not ready. Because I remember having a meeting with them on the 7th of November, where we were telling them, informing them about our plans to return everybody to the Rosa Market. And one of the conditions was that, look, for now, the Rosa Market is not ready, so we will turn a blind eye to vending in the city. But once Rosa Market facilities are available, everybody should be back at the market. And that is essentially what the law says. The law says that, once the facilities are available, all vending of marketable commodities should be at the Rosa Market. Those who vend in the city, let's say during the time that the market is open, they would require a license. And the license is granted by Dexia. And there are conditions for granting the license.
Thomas hopes for full cooperation from all vendors in returning to the Rosa Market on Friday.
I expect the cooperation of the vendors. I expect the vendors to cooperate because this is something that we have been speaking to them about. It is not something that is sudden or drastic that we are talking about. We have been preparing vendors for that time, for that day when they will have to return to the market. We understand a little about the psychology of vending. We know that, vendors like to be very conspicuous. They want to be on, even at the market, we observe that. When they are at the market, they want to be on the side of the road, right on the road. We have a covered section of the Rosa Market that was designed, that was set up for the vending of marketable commodities, but vendors have chosen to be on the side of the road. So we expect not everybody to warmly embrace the fact that they have to come back to the Rosa Market. But we believe that it's in best interest, when we take into consideration everything, this is the best solution that we have for the vending of marketable commodities.
Channel 5 News took to the streets to hear the views of the roadside vendors ahead of their move to the Rosa Market on Friday.
Le moi aller market, moi taper depuis market là bon, c'est le market moi te avant avant. Il pas un problème pour moi vivre market. Because it bien pour moi les avant market. Because ça moi bochi mais moi pas taper assez place pour moi vendre, comme moi te avant market. Moi plus bien les avant market. Mais ça moi vle now. Les nous aller market pour nous confortable. Même genre nous te confortable avant. Weekend. Il pas regarder belle. Et vers nous avant manger ça au bochi mais. Because market là. Mais c'est pas belle qui capable parler, c'est confortable. Et vers depuis pas ni pièce lourde. Et vers nous taper place pour nous mettre table nous pour nous vendre. Même que nous pas ni table mais nous ni ça nous fait nous vendre bochi mais nous ca vendre vers.
Well, the thing is that I love the market. I like to sell in the market, guys. I'm there for 40 years. But what happened, I understand that they haven't fixed the toilet, they haven't fixed the water, and I myself need a booth because I had a booth there to store all my goods, and the river took it. So if they fix all that, oh, I am welcome at the market.
Okay, we spoke to the Rosa Market Authority this morning, and he said that come Friday, everything will be fixed. The washrooms will be working, they'll be running water, they're working with the WASCO.
Yeah.
So if all that is in place, would you go to the market?
Oh, sure. Right now I would go. because I love the market. I like selling in the market.
Don't you think you will get more people to buy from you if you're by the roadside?
Well, I hope so, because you see, by the roadside, we're selling plenty better. Okay. When it had a time in market, I wasn't making not $1. Okay. Things were not selling at all. But I don't know, as it haven't got KFC there, we'll be in trouble a little. Because when KFC, people come and buy their liquor fruits and they run and buy their KFC, because the Dominicans like KFC, buy their KFC and they're going home. But I just hope, I'm praying to the Almighty God that He send back our sale for us in the market.
Yes, moi content pour nous retourner dans marché à Market Roseau. Et Friday.
Pourquoi?
Nous content parce que côté nous y a là, nous pas remet sous la rue côté nous y a.
Ever in your town qui ka vini Roseau Market?
Yes. Gen autant moun qui ka vini Roseau Market.
Ou pa gata pe autant moun là?
Oui, nous traper moun, mais là nous dans marché à. Et puis bon pour nous puis en sécurité.
Dexia's general manager also gave a word of warning to consumers that they too can be penalized for purchasing goods from roadside vendors.
Consumers also need to take note, pay attention to the fact that there are also penalties for purchasing from persons who are vending marketable commodities in the city without a license. So they need to take that into consideration. So once the market is open, once we have taken that action, I would encourage consumers to come to the Roseau Market to do their transactions. Do not encourage the illegal activity on the streets of the city, because you yourself can find yourselves in difficulties with the law. There are penalties, there are fines.
Reporting for Channel 5 News, I am Andrea Louis.
And government's post-Maria recovery and rebuilding plan received much attention at the recently concluded CARICOM UN Pledge Conference in New York. Addressing representatives of donor countries, Prime Minister Skerrit spoke of prioritizing and sequencing of expenditure from external grants and concessionary financing that would serve as a catalyst in supporting economic recovery or a critical role in stabilizing the society. Minister Skerrit outlined the expenditure which would support the economy and identified 5 priorities for drawing in private investment and kickstarting the recovery.
Rebuilding critical transport infrastructure, including key port terminals, major connecting roads and bridges, and slope interventions that will allow business, trade, and travel to return. 2, restoring the power grid fast, organizing a climate-resilient distribution of the grid, and investing in a high concentration of renewables in order to lower costs. 3, revitalizing food markets and crop planting, and in the process, developing food security and climate-resilient agriculture, irrigation, and fisheries. 4, strengthening sea and river defenses in Roseau to help draw in other investments in building and commerce. And 5, small critical investments to support the return of the tourism sector and to facilitate commercial loans to the sector through partial guarantees. The UK CDB road project and the World Bank's supported DVRP are part of the committed funds identified under the transport line. The outstanding balance of $85 million represents funding required for replacing 16 major bridges and smaller bridges and culverts, improvement of the South Road, and restoration of river capacity. A further $23 million is needed for key terminals and berths, $12 million for critical river and sea defenses for Roseau, part of a proposed $40 million Roseau enhancement project. In the Integrated Energy Plan, discussions are advancing with the World Bank, the European Investment Bank, New Zealand, and others on a debt for financing for the geothermal plant, restoration and part undergrounding of the grid. Concessionary funding to the electricity utility would be conditional on the rapid return of the grid, a minimum use of renewables of approximately 85%, the precise amount dependent on the optimum identified by the Integrated Energy Plan Energies and other measures to lower the cost of electricity for our citizens. We only need a further $15 million to complete this project. Repairing nature trails, restoring the fisheries industry, and offering partial guaranteed financing for hotels can be impactful for a further $12 million.
This has been the Channel 5 News. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Kenny Williams. To our viewers all around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.